Welcome back to Before the Millions. I got me a superstar with me today. And I know I say this every single episode, but y'all know I don't lie to y'all. I bring a superstar every single episode. And today, we got somebody, that has done something that most people haven't done. You know what I'm saying? This is definitely somebody, this is Before the Millions, right? So we literally are capturing that moment before people become millionaires, right? Like that documentary, like the Kanye documentary,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Things like that, just trying to capture those moments.
Process.
It's literally the process, before you get to that millionaire level. But the beauty is, today we actually have an individual that has reached that pinnacle. You know what I'm saying? You've done what most people haven't done. You've made $1 million. Right? So I appreciate you so much for coming through, bro.
Sure, bro. I appreciate it likewise.
It's truly a blessing. I appreciate you for your time, for your hostility, for everything that you've done, and how hard you worked on your end to make this happen, So this is Imran Ritchie. A lot of people do not know who you are, and a lot of people do know who you are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for those that don't, go ahead and just give us a quick little background of exactly who you are, where you come from.
Yeah, for sure. First things first, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's a pleasure. It's an honor to be here. Also, just here, man, having a conversation, just giving value, just giving a piece of my wisdom, my experience, my journey, to the people that are going to be watching this through this platform.
Mm-hmm.
But 25 years old, entrepreneur, businessman, and a little bit about who I am that I feel is super important to the things that I've been able to do, and kind of the foundational root of why I am who I am, or why I do what I do is just culture, background, history. People say to know the future or to know how to move forward, you need to know your history. And I feel like for me, that's super important. It's a super important component to me. So I'm Jamaican, so my parents, both parents, born and raised Jamaica. My dad came here when he was 35. My mother came here when she was 25. But I'm, born in Queens, raised in Long Island, New York. And I lived in Jamaica for 5 years. So I'm a citizen of America, but I'm also a citizen of Jamaica.
That's tough. That's tough.
And I feel like it's super important to understand that, because growing up and living in Jamaica for an extended period of time, it cultured me. It rooted me to certain values or certain morals or certain traditions that I take with who I am in me today, within my character.
Right. Nah, that's fire, bro. So you say, you lived in America, you lived in Jamaica. What would you say some of the differences are in terms of how people live and some of the luxuries that, some of us in America may have?
Right. So I feel the first thing, that's a clear difference is just the amount of resources.
Right.
And as you start to have less resources, you have to know how to become more resourceful.
Facts.
So I feel like that's a very important skill that people pick up when they come from third world countries. They don't have to have everything in the world to do everything in the world.
Right.
And throughout my journey of just entrepreneurship, business, there were moments where, I had a lot, or there were moments when I had a little. And one thing that I've realized, to just move better or just move forward, move forward and take myself is, in those moments of not having all of the resources, you learn how to become more resourceful.
Facts. Nah, that's deep. Nah, I like that, bro. And I feel like that, like you said, you hit it on the nose, bro. That's something that when you come from that environment, you learn that.
Yeah.
And me having, my parents are both immigrants.
Right.
So I learned that from them. I've never been to Nigeria, but in our household, I learned from how my father and my mother move. You know what I'm saying? It's like they have so many responsibilities, but they make it happen. And they never fail to make time for us. They just make time for everything they have to get done. Even if it sacrifices them having, leisure time to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that grit, that hustle, that consistency, that's something that, kind of been ingrained in me.
Sure.
And I feel like that's one of the pinnacles when it comes to being successful in anything. You know what I'm saying? And we was talking about it before we started filming, about those three characteristics. I forget who said it, but he was like the three characteristics of every successful person. He said it, impulse control is number one. You have just a little tad insecurity. maybe about something, maybe about where you've been from, anything. You have that. I feel like everyone has some type of insecurity.
Right, for sure.
And then last but not least, you have an edge. You know what I'm saying? You have an exact. It's crazy because in the trading world is you have that strategy, your edge.
Right.
So it's like any business world, you have a strategy. Everything
Right.
you do, game, you play sports, you have a strategy, an edge.
Sure.
And those three components are the three things that kind of help them get to that level. So from that, I have a question. I want to know if you feel like that is true, right? If you feel like you have those three things, and just touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So, definitely.
You got the impulse control.
Impulse control, I feel like, is super important because any good person chasing success or chasing greatness, chasing anything, special above themselves, more than themselves, you're going to be put in certain predicaments. And what I mean by that is whether it's people, whether it's opportunities, whether it's situations within your business
right.
or whatever it is, you're going to be put in certain predicaments that are hard to handle. And if you are a person who can control the impulse that naturally is supposed to happen, you're going to start to become more successful. And the reason that I say that is because you're not going to just act on emotion. You're going to more so act on strategy. You're going to more so act on your plan. And it's crazy because I feel like one of my biggest keys, to just myself, mastering myself and achieving the things that I look to achieve, is planning. Is I have this book right here, and this is something that I keep with me, a lot. Is it's my plans, it's my goals, it's my strategies.
Right.
Just like you said, and I'm a very thought out person. So for me, I act on it quick, but I've been planning for a while.
Right.
So
like
to
that.
the world, it looks almost spontaneous, or like there was no plan behind it, or I just jumped off the cliff and tried to find a parachute on the way down.
Right.
But internally, I know the confidence comes from me planning it for months or years or whatever the case may be. And then the second one that you said was,
we got impulse control. We have an edge. So you feel like you have an edge over most people,
over anybody, right? So I would say the edge is it's a truth. That's facts, because there's some sort of confidence, that comes from the edge.
Right.
And the main thing that I would say that the edge represent is a uniqueness. Every single person that is chasing the greatest optimal being of themselves, they understand their uniqueness.
Right.
No one person is like the other person, no matter if they do the same things, no matter if they're in the same lane, no matter if they're friends or not.
Twins.
You can be twins, but when you start to understand your greatness, you start to move a certain way, because you know that no matter if somebody stole your idea, you know what I'm saying, no matter if somebody literally stole your playbook, stole your diary, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna understand that at the end of the day, they can never do it like you do.
They can't do it like you.
You know, feel me?
Sure.
That's
a
important.
fact. That's a fact. And I feel like before we touch the last one, I feel like that's something that hurts a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs.
Right.
I can't tell you how many people thought they couldn't reach certain goals because everyone else did it. Like I talk to females that I know that want to do, that are great hairstylists. They do all their friends' hair.
Right.
They want to start a business, but they're like, everyone does hair. I'm like, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like lashes, or start music, whatever you want to do. A lot of people are scared because everyone does it, but it's like, bro, what makes you different is you.
And the main thing that I would say to that is everyone follows someone. You know what I'm saying? I know that there are people that are super highly inspired by me, super highly inspired by who I am as a person, what I stand for, the things that I've done, how I've treated them. But I also know there are people out there that may not follow me, for whatever reason that may be. But I want everybody to understand that, somebody's following you, you know what I'm saying? And you have a specific audience, or you have a specific demographic, or, somebody that's going through the same thing, essentially, or you're the next thing, right? You're the next level that they're looking to aspire. And I feel like that's super important to understand, you know. So when you are starting a business, when you are putting out the content, you feel me? When you are doing whatever it is that you're doing, just understand that somebody's gonna mess with it.
Right.
It's two people, it's two people.
Right. Nah, that's huge, bro. That's huge because there's levels to everything. You know what I'm saying? So, and I feel like that tip right there would give that perspective. I would say, I feel like that gives entrepreneurs a way to gain more confidence in themselves.
Right.
Because even if you just started or you've been in this business for 6 months, a year, and you're doing decent, it's like there's somebody that's just thinking of it. They haven't started. They're thinking about starting,
Right.
and they're looking at you, and they're looking up to you.
Right.
So it's like just keep going and keep being you. Now that's huge. So
Right.
we got that impulse control. We got the edge. Now there's always that little bit of insecurity, right? That feeling that you kind of got to prove yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you feel like? And that's a vulnerable moment, right? What would you feel like that was for you?
Yeah,
Or is for you?
For sure. You know, so I've had a lot of vulnerable moments when it comes to feel like you haven't improved yourself.
Right.
I feel like me personally, just the type of person that I am, that feeling never stops.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That feeling of having to show, right, that you are continuing to evolve,
Right.
you know, continuing to get better, you know, because people say that if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And for me, that's one of my biggest driving forces, like you said, you know. So as I start to dissect and analyze those three things, I would say for me, it is the competitive edge of having to prove.
Right.
And, you know, a couple moments that I felt like I had to do that were, one, you know, just in sports.
Right.
That
sports?
Yeah, you know, I came up playing basketball my whole
tough.
life.
That's tough.
And went to college for basketball, you know, went to everything, you know, every camp that you can think of. High school, played basketball. But I feel like sports is such a staple, you know, for life and for entrepreneurship and business, period, because it teaches you certain values.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being at tryouts and you have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I remember, you know, being at certain camps and you had to come out of there ranked or not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like those were some of the first moments to expose me of having to prove or having to feel like there's a chip on my shoulder. And it's the same thing now when it comes to in the world of business, in the world of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's never a competition. It's never like you're gauging yourself up against anyone else. But for me, it's more so gauging myself up of my previous self.
Right.
You know, new ceilings now have to become new floors to get to the next level in life. So
that's huge, bro. And having that competitive edge, having that, you know, especially competitive edge against, like you said, your previous self.
Right.
That's huge, and that's the only way, in my opinion, right? And of course, I don't know everything, but in my opinion, the only way you can continuously grow without feeling down or feeling too good.
Right.
I forget the exact quote. I was listening to somebody. He was like, when you compare yourself to others, only two things can happen. You're either gonna feel less than or more than.
Right.
Either or. And both is bad.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You shouldn't I shouldn't look at you and like, dang, he got more money than me. Dang. That's, you know what I'm saying? Or I got more money than him.
Right.
It shouldn't be like that. But if you're always comparing yourself to your previous self,
right.
It's like last year I had $1,000.
Right.
This year I got $3,000. I
sure.
bet I'm going up. You know what I'm saying? And if you just keep doing that, you're not gonna want it. Like you said before we started rolling, you was like, yo, when you do certain things, you don't want to go back.
Right.
You're making those ceiling floors.
For sure. And you know, for me, it's always previous self versus future self.
Right.
You know, just having big expectations for where I see myself, you know, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 30 years. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big person on legacy.
Right.
You know, for me, that's something that I think about, you know, a lot. You know, it's something that I dream about. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, what does Imran Ritchie's legacy look like after it's all said and done? And that's something that is one of my biggest driving forces, you know, because at the end of the day, the goal is to create things to outlive you. Right. You know, because at the end of the day, you only have a limited time on this earth, but the things that you create, you know, the mark that you leave, the way you treat people, how people remember you as, you know, those are the ways to make yourself immortal.
Right. Facts. Because we all gonna die one day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know?
So what do you leave behind? Nah, that's huge, bro. So you talk about legacy, and it's something that we, especially at a young age, a lot of people don't think about that.
Right.
We're focused on right now, but you've done a couple things in your life where you've set up foundation for a legacy. Right. You've set up foundation for generational wealth, and you set things in store for people ahead of you.
Right.
Right. How old are you right now, bro?
25.
25.
Yeah, 25.
You know what I'm saying? So if you really think about, again, not to compare yourself to anybody else, but if you just think about the average 25-year-old,
right,
they haven't done, the average 4-year-old haven't done what you've done.
Right.
Right. So in terms of legacy, you know, you got a plaza in Jamaica.
Right.
Right. You have a building in New York.
Right.
So going into real estate at 25, that's not something they teach us in school. That's something that we all hear about. It sounds good.
Right.
But who's really doing it?
For
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? So when did you get into real estate, and how did you make that happen, bro?
Yeah, so man, this is this is something that I've always wanted to do. And I take it back through the mentality of my dad. You know, so just it's important for me to start right there with that story. You know, just my evolution of how everything came about. And the reason being is because the mentality that he instilled in me, it helped me to become this point.
Right.
You know, so I know we were speaking about leaving certain things in the past, or not taking things from your parents with you, but also taking things with you as well. And, you know, my dad is somebody that I've completely learned the rule of investing from. And he's not the richest man in the world. You know, he's not the most wealthiest man in the world, but when it comes to legacy, he's somebody that literally that's what he stands on. And my biggest thing I would say is, you know, some of the people that I study, some of the people that I follow, I pride myself on just thinking differently, you know. So when it comes to Imran Ritchie, I pride myself on having a mind that thinks a little different.
Right.
You know, I pride myself on having a different perspective than the average.
Facts.
So for me growing up, whatever the normal was or whatever the status quo was, I tried to break away from that completely.
Right. Do the opposite.
Do the opposite, exactly. Facts. And for me, growing up, you know, my dad, he used to always say this one saying to me. It was, make your money work for you. And at the time I was very young, you know, and it's a very basic, you know, like I was saying, it's a very basic
it makes
quote,
sense.
but it was the subconsciousness of me growing up to hear those certain things. You know what I'm saying? Even when I was working jobs, I was always thinking about making your money work for you.
Right.
And, you know, getting into real estate, you know, you mentioned the plaza in Jamaica. That's something that I'm actively working on right now. And it's a project, just like I said, it's a project, but it's something that is, one, very lucrative, and it's something that when we talk about legacy, that is one of the things that can outlive the Ritchie last name for years and centuries to come. And, you know, growing up, my dad growing up in Jamaica, he's a person to actually originate the plaza. You know, so he actually started the foundation of the plaza, right? So basically what he did was, you know, he's a worker, you know, so growing up, he took a little bit of the money that he had from fixing this home, or, you know, we're helping out this person. And he put a little bit of what he had into a legacy. And it's at the point now where, you know, it being there for maybe 15 years, and, you know, just the world of where it's at today with technology, both of those worlds can't mix. He doesn't really know how to take a business or an establishment to the next level in today's day and age. So for me, legacy, you know, and understanding that that's always been something I've been about. It's been on my mind and my heart and my plans for years, you know, to be able to help and take that to the next level. So for me, of recent, maybe within the past year, I've taken ownership of the entire plaza.
Wow.
So over the last year, I've been through a lot of paperwork, a lot of overseas paperwork. What I'm learning as I go with just international business, it's a lot different. Think about it. Think about being in a different country trying to operate a business.
Right.
It's a lot of legalities. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that I'm learning. It's a lot of speculations. But one of the things that helped me along with that is the fact that I am a dual citizen. So maybe if someone was just an American, there would be a lot of obstacles in the way. So but my plans for it though, man, my plans is to have it be one of the biggest establishments in that area. So many people, when you think of Jamaica, you think of Montego Bay, you think of like Kingston,
right?
You think of
the big names you hear about.
Yeah, the big names you hear about. And one of the rising areas is the area that the plaza's in. And it comes with being a visionary for you to understand that it may not be there yet, but you have a foundational piece of land,
right?
Where at some point in time it's gonna get there.
Facts.
And it's heartwarming to understand that you build a foundation from your last name, that's going to be able to not only impact the community but impact generations long after you've gone. So within the next year, I plan to build upon it, change it structurally, financially, aesthetically. So my dad, he had it for years, and what happened was there was no bank account connected to the entire lot.
Sheesh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, think about 13 renters being in there, but you don't know how much revenue the whole lot is bringing you on a day-to-day.
Right.
And it's because of technology, so there was no bank account connected to Ritchie Plaza.
Right.
So as I'm starting to get in there now within the past 6 months, I have to go get corporate bank accounts to connect to the Ritchie Plaza. So now when we go down there, people can just deposit the money into the bank.
Facts.
What my dad was doing for years, he was every 6 months or every time he goes to Jamaica, he collects the money cash. So think about all of the things. Think about all of the things that come with that.
Right.
People not paying. People
excuses,
not
all types
excuses. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how much money is being robbed. You feel me? So these are the type of things when it comes to scaling a business that he just didn't understand.
Right.
And as me explaining it to him and him seeing certain stuff, he started to understand it. He started to see the faults in why it's not doing what it can do. Right. So it's just being a visionary, man, and just seeing it through. Seeing something that's not really there yet.
That's tough.
And I know you mentioned the New York.
Yeah, New York.
So December 15th, actually, December 15th, 2021, I closed on a unit, right? Or I closed on a building in New York. It's in Queens, New York. But that process of closing on that building in New York was literally one of the best moments in my life.
That's tough.
And the reason that I say that is not because of the accomplishment itself, but it's more so what it taught me. So that building I was essentially in contract with for a year, so about 9 months. Right. So what I mean by that is, initially, being a homeowner, it was a first time process for me. And when you go into something, you think that it's gonna be in and out. For me, that was the first moment in my life where I really knew, or I really found out what it meant to have faith. And the reason that I say that is because, going back with underwriters and going through all of the different things that it takes to get a home, get approved for a home, everything. It can do something to you when you don't really know, or you have no say so over what's gonna happen. And for approval or denial.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? After 9 months. So for me, it's a 4-unit home. It's in Queens, New York, and basically, I didn't buy it to live in it.
Mm-hmm.
So the first home that I bought was essentially an investment.
Right.
And right now, there are three people in it that rent, and then there's a bottom that's an Airbnb. But my plans for it is come January, is to Airbnb the entire building, right? Because the type of money that it's bringing in now, compared to having people in it rent, and the rent is way lower than what you can be staying. People can get in there from Airbnb. It's a lot more that can be made. You know what I'm saying? That just thinking as an entrepreneur, thinking as a businessman, it's all about the
that's
revenue.
A fact.
You know what I'm
That's
saying? And that's where I'm at with it.
Nah, that's tough. That's tough. So like you said, that big point, make your money work for you.
Right.
You've done it multiple ways. We talked about the real estate. In the investing space, you've done it too.
Right.
Right. Talk about some of the investing, crypto, forex, stocks, all the different ways you've made money work for yourself. How did you learn these things? How did you really just dive into that?
Yeah, definitely. First thing, it came with open-mindedness.
Right.
And reason that I say that is because, coming into a space like digital entrepreneurship, I had no idea about it. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to say investing.
Right.
The average individual on the side of the street, walks up to you and says they know about investing.
Yeah.
Your barber, you feel me? Your barber, you get a haircut, and they're like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, I got my money in Robinhood.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or I got some money in this, and everybody think that they knows what it, means to invest. But just coming into the digital entrepreneurship space for me, it was my first time of being a student. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is it was the first time for me where I had to learn a different language. And I was reading a book, and someone said in the book a very powerful quote. With every new level of consciousness or awareness, there's a new language. So when I came into the investing space, the reason why most people truly don't understand is just a new language, just new terminology. You know what I'm saying? And that's the only thing. Once you understand the language of investing, once you understand the language of cryptocurrency or anything as it pertains to making your money work for you, it starts to become more normal. And for me, when it comes to things like crypto, when it comes to the digital entrepreneurship space, there are a couple things that I'm actively taking the time out to still become a student of. Things like, one, obviously cryptocurrency and the technology around it. So things like Web3, things like DeFi, decentralized finance, things like Ethereum. I think those three right there are powerful topics when it comes to the digital entrepreneurship space and the investing space as a normal. And the reason that I say that, is because these are where the future is headed. And it's important. It's important to understand, especially just as humanity. It's important to understand the trends of the future. Because if you understand those things now, everyone, as humanity is going to be well more off, advanced, and well more understanding and wise of the things to do, where to put your money and the things to invest in, and what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I know there's a quote, one of my favorite quotes is, the learners inherit the earth.
The learners inherit the earth.
The learners inherit the earth.
That's
while the learn, they find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with the world that no longer exists. So what I mean is, think about those people. Think about those people that think they know everything.
Right.
And it all goes back to, as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, as anybody that's looking to be successful in anything, any endeavor, you have to evolve. You have to evolve. If you do not evolve, you will no longer be relevant.
Facts.
It's super important to understand. If you do not evolve, you will no longer be relevant. So that quote, when I break it down, it said the learners are the ones who inherit the earth. Meaning that if you are taking the time out to up your wisdom, up your knowledge, up your education, up the things that are moving towards the future, you're going to be able to inherit the wealth of the earth.
Facts.
The learned, they find themselves equipped.
I like that.
Beautifully equipped.
They think they got it.
They think they
you
got it.
got a lot, but it's like,
you know me? They
like
think
you
they
said,
got it.
the world is not here no more.
It's not here no more. As time evolves, the world no longer stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? And that's why things like Web3 is so beautiful, because we're on Web3, but the internet started with Web1.
Right.
You feel me?
Facts. Nah, that's huge, bro. You got a lot of big things. We talked about, the real estate, talked about the crypto, learning how to make your money work for you. Me personally, where I met you, where I learned more about you was, in the network marketing space. And you've done a lot of great things in that space. And I remember I was listening to, his name is, Jumping Jack Tax.
Yeah, Prince Downell.
Yes, Prince Downell, bro.
That's my guy.
He used to have a podcast. I don't know if you ever knew.
Yeah.
So when he used to drop every day, he was like, and this was when I first got into network marketing. He said it's one of the best places that he feels like every single entrepreneur should at least do a certain period of time in network marketing.
Right.
Because it's the cheapest way to actually understand and learn business.
Right.
You can make all the mistakes you want. You can learn the ins and outs of how to grow a business with the lowest amount of cost.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about things like that.
For sure.
So me personally, that's where I learned you, and you were definitely somebody that I looked up to, that I studied, I listened to.
Appreciate that.
And it's because of, I said it before we started rolling, the obsessiveness. Right. You know what I'm saying? A certain mindset, a certain way, a perspective, a certain way you see things. For me, it clicks, right? My whole life, bro, I say it all the time, like I never really felt like I fitted in. Mm-hmm. Of course, I just have a personality, humbly, that I can mix and mingle with anybody, connect and be cool, in any room.
Right.
But it's like I never felt like I belonged in any of the rooms that I've been in my whole life, except certain times when I see certain people. It's like, okay, I don't have to know too much about you. I could have met you today,
right? But
we click. It's a certain thing. It's that obsessiveness that you got that I see, and it's like, okay, yeah, I understand it. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that I've seen in you, from the jump. And what do you feel like that does for an entrepreneur? Because certain people don't understand how obsessed you have to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a certain business, but with just becoming better.
For sure. Something that you said stuck with me just now. You said a couple of things. First things first, you talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right.
And that was one of the first books that I ever read.
Me too.
And, just there are certain moments throughout my life where things started to connect. And, Rich Dad, Poor Dad for me was one of the moments when my dad saying, make your money work for you, started to connect with me. And, just my background and how I grew up, just getting into business and just always wanted to know about money, know about how to manage money, know about, how to make money, know about how to invest it, because I love to spend it.
Facts.
You feel me?
Facts.
But for me, even going to college, I studied accounting.
Me too. I studied finance.
Yeah, so I studied accounting. And for me, just reading that book during the time of college, it connected a lot of the dots for me. But you said something, and shout out to Prince Downell. It's actually crazy because going from being a worker, an employee at a certain point in my life, man, I did a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? I did a lot of things. I worked unloading trucks.
Sheesh.
You know what I'm saying? I worked in the summertime, unloading loads, with fridges and packing them up. So I feel like those experiences are important.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Because it shows you what hard work is, and it shows you, if you have the right mentality, it shows you what you never want to continue to do.
That's a big one. So I don't want to cut you off, but before you continue, that's a big thing I was just talking to my friend about the other day. I was like, yo, you have to figure out what you don't want to do.
You have to figure out what you don't like.
Yeah. And it's like, no one can tell you. Like, I can ask you, bro, exactly what did you do? but I may go and do what you did and not like it.
For sure.
So I got to go kind of experiment and figure out what you don't like. So that's huge. That you said it.
You know, so just coming up through my journey, man, there are certain things that I realized that I didn't want to do. I didn't want life to be like. And it allowed for me to be open to opportunities, like you said, like network marketing. And, you know, for me, I never pictured myself ever doing network marketing. You feel me? Because when it came to sales at a certain point in my life, I didn't understand the fact that in life, you're either on two sides. You're either the consumer or the producer, right? And it's important to understand for anyone looking to be successful that you have to step from the side of the consumer to the producer. And what I mean by that is in every aspect. So people on Instagram that are scrolling and not putting out the content, they're the consumers of the world. The people who are not essentially trying to start the business, right? Or trying to be the producers, right? They're the consumers of the world. And I started to realize that the wealth is on the producer side, right? The influence is on the producer side. You know, the impact is on the producer side, right? And that's something that's super important for me. So I started to realize that, and I stepped into the lane of network marketing, and you know, it got a lot of success through that field. You know, got a lot of success through that field in a very short amount of time. You know, and I'm grateful for it. But the reason why I can attribute some of the success is because of failed opportunities. And it's crazy because most people don't know how me and Prince Donnell even met. You know, I had two businesses before network marketing. So I had a tax business, right? And it was through the service of Prince Donnell. Most people don't know that Prince Donnell and I were the first to partner in his business now. So I was the first person in Jumping Jack Tax.
That's lit. Nah, that's lit.
But like, let me break it down to you. So I was, at the time, I had just graduated from school, right? And this is when all of these things started to click. The rich dad, poor dad, the things that I was being taught from my dad subconsciously by the little sayings and little words. I'm working, right? I'm slaving, I'm doing my thing, I'm hustling. And, you know, I see Prince Donnell being a producer of the world like he is today. But I see, you know, I see Prince Donnell, he came up with this concept of Jumping Jack Tax. And I looked at it and I saw, and I started to look at the idea of, if I'm fresh out of college and I'm applying for accounting jobs and I'm trying to get internships, I might as well try to start my own thing.
Facts.
So Prince Donnell had just opened up, right, or started the concept of the business Jumping Jack Tax. And I got on the phone with Prince Donnell, right? Mind you, I'm fresh out of college. I had saved up $5,000, right? I had about $6,000 in my bank account at the time. I had saved up $5,000, and Prince Donnell pitched me the idea of opening up a Jumping Jack Tax office, and I started it, right? I'm on the phone with Prince Donnell, and during those moments of me being on the phone with him, the moments started to play in my head again of make your money work for you, right? Of the cash flow quadrant, right? Through the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And that was one of the first moments in my life where I invested into something not knowing if I would get a return.
Facts.
Right? And, you know, Prince Donnell doesn't know that that moment literally did a lot for me today. And it's not because the business went on to be successful, it's because I took a loss on the business, right? So think about having $6,000 in your bank account and you invest $5,000, right, into a business, and during the tax season, I make about $100.
Sheesh.
Right? So now I'm the first person to ever believe in the vision of Jumping Jack Tax with Prince Donnell. I'm the first person, a 21-year-old kid. He has about, think about this though, and this is how I knew that I was thinking in the right state of mind. You feel me? And it became a lesson for me but it also became something that I can learn from, like, wholeheartedly. Because 21-year-old believing in the vision of something, taking a big loss on it to make $100 during tax season. After that, I was never scared to invest again. I was never afraid to do any opportunity.
Right.
I was never afraid to, bet on myself.
Facts.
Double down on myself.
Facts.
And bet on myself. And, Prince Donnell, I owe him a lot for that moment. And I don't owe him that moment because he did anything for me. I owe him that moment because he casted his vision, and I believed in the vision. I still believe in that vision to this day. He has something great going on. And we speak sometimes from time to time, and, I receive a message from Prince Donnell, DM from Prince Donnell, and he'll tell me, like, thank you. And it means a lot.
Because I know you did a lot for him, too.
He told me, he said, thank you. You were one of the reasons why I believed in what I had going on. If a 21-year-old kid who's a visionary can believe in the vision that I had going on, I know that the world can.
Facts.
So those little moments along the journey, it built me. It tore me down, but it built me up.
Bro, it's a lot of the things you just said, they hit home. And for me, the main thing is your perspective.
Right.
The way you see everything. And just to have a transparent moment, even for this podcast. Today's a crazy day. You stay out in New York. I'm from Maryland. So I'm coming, I came out to New York and we had a couple technical difficulties and a lot of problems that came leading up to the podcast.
Right.
And one thing, and I said it before, I commended you. I was like, yo, just the way you see a problem, and it's not a problem for you. It's just like, okay, what do we got to do?
Right.
And there's no other. It's like that's all you see.
Right.
That's huge, bro.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And
for sure.
That's one of the biggest things that I'm just noticing in everything that you're saying is just the way you see it.
Right. And it's crazy because I feel like God has blessed me with that power, with that ability. I feel like every single person in the world has casting on their life that makes them unique.
Facts.
And I feel like my uniqueness in this world is the edge. Exactly. The edge
that perspective.
Is the perspective. So you can look at something and you can say, is your glass half full or half empty? And for me, the power to look at situations, right? The power to, have something in your life happen to you. The power to go through, trials and tribulations, or, just some of the worst moments of your life. And basically, I heard this saying, it says, two people go through the same thing. And it's the reason why one can, it's the reason why one can't.
Right.
And the reason being is because it's all how you view the situation.
Yeah.
You feel me? So for me, I've always tried to be a person. For me, I've always tried to be a person to share how I think, share my perspective with the world as much as I can, to uplift, to inspire, to empower. And, I started to realize that would almost be impossible, so I started to figure out how I could share bits and pieces of it.
Right. Now that's huge, bro. That's and it's that perspective, and I was literally thinking about it the other day. Because daily I try to take like a little run or bike or whatever, my cardio in the morning. That's the best time to really free your mind. And I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, yo, that's what I have. Like, that's my edge. Like, just the way I see things, no one can see it how I see it. Right. But it's like, with all humility, it's just my perspective. I choose to see, I could be in any situation and I will see both perspectives.
For sure.
I can see how you feel.
Right.
Even if I don't agree with it, I can see it. And I can really literally step in your shoes and I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, that's a major thing, bro.
Yeah, bro. It's huge. And it's you don't see a lot of people that get it. It's crazy, bro. Now that you're saying that, it's like I know exactly what you mean, bro. Like, just so you know, we can wrap this up. Don't want to take too much of your time, bro. But like I said, just the perspective that you had, I feel like that's the biggest takeaway
for sure
of today's podcast, is just the perspective that you have on everything, on life, period.
Right.
That determines the outcome.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You 100%. Can look at it like, okay, this is a bad situation, or this is the best situation in my life. This is a learning opportunity, a 100%. Trampoline. You know what I'm saying? So that's huge. Talk to me real quick before we get out of here, bro. What are some of the things you have planned, bro? Because I'm not gonna lie, like I said, a lot of people follow you. You know what I'm saying? We see what you're doing. We want to know what's next.
Yeah. You know, so I spoke about it. You know, I spoke about evolution.
Right.
You know, so for me, originating from the digital entrepreneurship space and getting some of the traits, right, or the lessons or the network or the resources in terms of financially that I've gotten from there, you know, I want to be able to now, one, do everything, and everything that I'm touching my hands on. Yes, I want it to turn to gold, but I want it to be about legacy. You know, so for me, within the past year, one of the biggest things that I've been focusing on, that I've been writing down in my book, is legacy. You know, is the ability to create, is the ability to leave something that will outlive Imran Ritchie.
Right.
And one of my most proud creations, or one of my most proud projects that I could say is, you know, obviously the plaza in Jamaica.
Of course.
You know, so right now I'm investing time, resources, energy into the plaza in Jamaica, because I want to do major things with it. I want it to generate a lot of revenue, you know, a lot of income, but more importantly, I want it to be an everlasting impact for that community, you know. And some of my biggest inspirations in life, you know, is one, obviously my parents. You know, I have to start there.
Of course.
Just seeing them hustle, seeing them grow up, seeing them provide for me.
Right.
And then some of my biggest inspirations, you know, are in my circle, you know, honestly, and most people won't say that. The people who I have direct contact with, some of my friends, some of the people that are in my network through opportunities that we've been in. But one of the biggest inspirations that I would say for me is an individual, Nipsey Hussle. You know, and most people don't know Nipsey Hussle.
Right.
You know, they think they know of him through rap.
Right.
But I studied Nipsey for years, and you know, the people that are closest to me know that. And the reason being is because I respect his vision as an entrepreneur and businessman. You know, Nipsey is an amazing rapper, Grammy nominated, you know, but he's more impressive as a businessman, and that's what most people don't really don't really see.
They don't see that. They don't
right?
see that part of Nipsey.
You know, the real estate that he has, the brand that he's built, everything. You know, just everything as it pertains to how solid he is. And for me, that's somebody that I can say I study, I model myself after. And I want to be able to leave legacies like how Nipsey Hussle has left a legacy.
Right.
You know, so to answer your question, some of the biggest things that I've been working on, or what's next, is to continue to evolve, to continue to work on myself, to continue to create, to continue to expand. Expansion is one of the biggest things on my mind right now.
Stop.
And you know, obviously, you know, I'm working on a business in Jamaica, but I actually, you know, the hat that I have on right now.
Yeah, what is that, bro?
Yeah, it's actually a brand. You know, it's a brand that I've been working on. It's a brand that I've been cultivating over the past, I would say, 9 months. And it's, you know, it's MWM, but it stands for Mind Worth Millions. And like, what does that mean to you?
Huge.
What does that mean to you? I want to ask you.
Personally, Mind Worth Millions, it's that perspective that we keep talking about, like how you see it, you know, how you see everything. You know what I'm saying? And you know, that's just how your mind works. How do you think?
Right.
If you got a mind worth millions, you know what I'm saying, you have that certain perspective, you know. So for me, that brand, just like before the millions, it's an affirmation. If I wear this brand, I'm saying I got a mind worth millions. I got millions on my mind. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I see it.
And then for me, you know, basically the brand, the way it originated, you know, was essentially self-talk. You know, self-talk, self-reminders, you know, self-affirmations to self, you know, that no matter where you are, it's not who you are. You know, so where you are right now in life is not who you are. You know, I know people that are dead broke, but they have a mind worth millions. And it's all prior to what's to come. You know, what you make is not what you're worth. You feel me? Like your mind is what's worth the millions.
Right.
And for me, I told you, I've always been a person to try to share my perspective and share my thoughts with the world, but I started to realize that I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I can't share every thought of the day.
Yeah.
We have 7 million thoughts a day.
Facts.
I can't share every single thought throughout the day. So I started to see, how can I uplift, inspire, and empower people and leave a legacy for centuries to come, for successful people chasing what they want to chase, through me. And it hit me, it hit me when it did, like a light bulb almost one day. I woke up and I was talking to one of my closest friends, and we started to just lay the foundation, lay the ideas of, what's going on up there. You feel me? And it came to me, so that's what I would say Mind Worth Millions is about. It's more so of an affirmation. It's more so of a way of thinking.
Right.
I pride it, or I foundation it on humanity empowerment, because I have a little sister. And for me, think about how a 9-year-old growing up with the mentality of a Mind Worth Millions, what that would do for her, the type of things that she can accomplish. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I viewed it, so it's in the foundational stages right now, but I do have big plans for it, big plans for the brand, big plans on growing it, big plans on impacting with it. You know what I mean? And regardless of, what you're going through currently, I just want people to understand that your current situation doesn't define you. Your current situation will never define you.
Facts.
Your current mindset does.
Facts. It's crazy how the tables always turn.
For sure.
It's crazy how things come around. So before we get out of here, it's one thing I love to ask my guests, if you can give one line, one quick snippet. I don't know if you have a quote you live by.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a little saying, but what's that one little quick quota that you can give every single person that you feel like most impacted your life?
Yeah. Where you are is not who you are. What you make is not what you're worth. Your mind is what's worth millions. And the reason that I would leave that quote to anybody watching this is, I've been at moments where I've had it all, right? I've been at moments where I've been at my lowest. And for me, it didn't change my thought process, right? I wasn't moved by the success or the failure. And I feel like that's super important for anyone to understand when it comes to chasing a dream or becoming successful. That regardless of the foundation of what's up here matters. The dollar amount doesn't matter. What you make doesn't matter. Where you at right now currently does not matter. So I want to be able to leave that for somebody and change their life, because I know for a fact that there's somebody right now that's going to be watching this, that you're going to watch this and you're in your current position, but you believe in your heart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Something.
You got something in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
bro. That's the biggest thing. You got that burning desire. We used to always talk about that, bro. That burning desire. You got something in your heart,
sure,
that you could do. This is before the millions. This is what we do. We capture that. And speaking for someone that actually has been able to touch him and has been able to do great things, and not only touch that amount of money, but impact a huge amount of lives.
Right.
You motivate a lot of people. You've done things that 99% of people, especially your age, of your ethnicity, your background, don't do. You know what I'm saying? So 100% commend you, bro.
Likewise,
thank you so much for your time. This is amazing, bro. Make sure you guys go ahead. What's the IGs? How do we get in contact with you?
So Imran Ritchie, right? Imran Ritchie on Instagram. First name, last name. There are a lot of fake pages. It's just what it comes with.
Facts.
But Imran Ritchie, no underscore, no periods, no anything. And it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, just being here, giving game, giving wisdom.
Yes, sir. That was top. Hey, make sure you subscribe and keep bringing superstars, bro. I'm telling y'all every single week, bro. We bring superstars. No, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a certain caliber of the type of people you're gonna bring. You're gonna keep upping it, man. So part 2 is before the billions, just so you know. You know what I'm saying? So when the billions come in, we gotta run it back.
Yeah, definitely. And it's crazy because I know millions is definitely not the goal. There's billions to get also.
For sure.
But I feel like there's stepping stones.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's stepping stones. And that's the main thing. So I'm excited for it, bro.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. Man. We got here. Make sure y'all tune in. Dang, that was like 40 minutes.
Yes, sir.
That shit was like that, bro. I'm not gonna